In a bustling big city, with tall buildings and busy streets, lived a man named Robert. Since childhood, Robert had been trained to become a bodyguard. Working with high-profile clients, he earned an undeniable reputation as a disciplined, well-trained, and fearless individual. However, behind his brilliant professional life, there was a feeling of emptiness in his heart, a longing that could not be explained. Robert was born into a devout Christian family. Every Sunday, he attended church services with his family, and he felt that his faith provided him with moral direction and guidance for life. Nevertheless, as he progressed further in his career, Robert began to feel an unexplained emptiness. He felt that the religious teachings he had received so far did not fully answer the big questions of life, about purpose, inner peace, and finding harmony in this chaotic world. Being a bodyguard gave Robert many experiences. He protected important people, faced dangerous threats, and was constantly in high-tension situations. Despite this, he felt that his life was moving in no clear direction. There were moments when he felt lonely, even though he was surrounded by many people. Yet, behind all the glamour in the world of security, Robert felt that something was missing. One day, he was assigned to protect a wealthy businessman who was attending an event at a luxury hotel. The event was attended by many prominent figures, including government officials and religious leaders. One of these religious figures was an imam from a local mosque who was well respected in the Muslim community. His name was Ibrahim. Robert had heard of him but had never met him in person. On the night of the event, Robert was assigned to ensure security around the venue. In the midst of the crowd, Robert's eyes accidentally met Imam Ibrahim's, who was walking toward the VIP room. For no clear reason, Robert felt drawn to him and wanted to know more about the imam. As the event concluded and the guests began to leave, Robert decided to approach Imam Ibrahim and introduce himself. "Assalamu alaikum, Imam Ibrahim," Robert said cautiously. Imam Ibrahim turned and smiled. "Wa alaikum salam, how are you, young man?" Robert smiled awkwardly. "Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. I just wanted to get to know you better. I work as a bodyguard, and I've heard many good things about you." Imam Ibrahim nodded and invited Robert to sit with him in a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. Their conversation started with light chat, but over time, it began to touch on deeper topics, about life, religion, and their views on the world. Robert felt strange but also intrigued. In every word spoken by Imam Ibrahim, there was a calmness that he had never felt before. As they discussed the purpose of life and how to find inner peace, Robert felt that something was starting to make sense. It was as if Imam Ibrahim could see his doubts, and he responded with great wisdom. "Robert," Imam Ibrahim said gently, "true peace is not something we find outside of ourselves. It is something within our hearts. If we can let go of our ego and open our hearts to the truth, we will feel it." Robert was silent. These words echoed in his mind. He felt that what Imam Ibrahim had said was the answer he had been searching for, though in a form different from what he had expected. Meeting Imam Ibrahim that night changed his perspective. He began reading more about Islam, learning about its simple yet profound teachings on simplicity, forgiveness, and living with gratitude. Days passed, and although he continued his work as a bodyguard, Robert's heart became more filled with curiosity about Islam. Over time, this feeling grew into belief. One bright morning, after months of reflection and learning, Robert decided to meet Imam Ibrahim again. This time, with a determined heart and full of hope, he said something that would change his life forever. "Imam Ibrahim, I feel that I have found what I've been searching for. I want to embrace Islam." Imam Ibrahim smiled with joy. "Alhamdulillah, Robert. That is a beautiful step. Islam is a religion full of peace and compassion. Let us strengthen our faith together." With deep gratitude and sincerity, Robert recited the Shahada. He officially became a Muslim. Robert's life changed completely after embracing Islam. As a bodyguard, he continued his work, but now with a different perspective. He no longer just protected people's physical safety, but also began protecting his own heart from hatred and emptiness. The 5 daily prayers became part of his routine, and he felt the peace he had been searching for. One night, while praying in the mosque, Robert reflected. He remembered his long journey, from being a bodyguard filled with doubt to becoming a Muslim whose life was full of meaning. It all began with his meeting with an imam who opened his heart to the light of truth. Robert knew his life would never be the same again. He was no longer just a physical protector, but also a protector from all the doubts within himself. As a Muslim, he felt that he had found true peace, and now he was ready to live his life with gratitude and true peace. After embracing Islam, Robert's life changed in extraordinary ways. His decision to become a Muslim not only changed his view of the world but also transformed the way he saw himself, his relationships with others, and how he interacted with the world around him. Robert's days, once filled with physical training, a busy work schedule, and long trips to protect high-profile clients, are now filled with much deeper and more meaningful pursuits. One of the first changes he experienced was adapting to the 5 daily prayers. Previously, he had viewed time as something to be used for work and completing tasks. However, after embracing Islam, time became a means of drawing closer to God. Prayers that were once just a routine memorized during religious school now felt full of meaning. Every time he stood for prayer, he felt that every movement and word had a depth that brought peace to his soul. Robert found that prayer was the best time to reflect and find peace, far from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. Before embracing Islam, Robert was more focused on how he could protect people from physical harm. However, after becoming a Muslim, he began to see the importance of protecting the hearts and minds of others. One of the Islamic teachings that greatly influenced him was the concept of akhlaq, morality, and the importance of mutual respect among humans. Robert learned to be more patient, humble, and compassionate. In his work as a bodyguard, he started to realize that protecting someone wasn't just about physical safety, but also about protecting their dignity and self-respect. He began to prioritize integrity, honesty, and politeness in his interactions with others. His desire to safeguard his clients also expanded to a wish to maintain peace and harmony in the surrounding environment. He began to feel a deeper connection with the people he met. One of the biggest changes was his relationship with family and friends. In the past, he always felt lonely despite being surrounded by many people. However, after embracing Islam, he felt more connected to others, especially to the Muslim community, which provided a strong sense of brotherhood. Robert felt that his life now had more meaning because he felt accepted in a community that was loving and caring. One of the most important things for Robert after becoming a Muslim was the inner peace he found. As a bodyguard, he had lived in tension and worry every day. However, after praying and remembering God, Robert felt a calming peace in his soul. He realized that even though this world is full of trials and challenges, God is always there to provide guidance and strength. As a Muslim, Robert felt more capable of accepting life's uncertainties with sincerity. He learned not to worry too much about the future and instead focused on what he could do in the present, with a sense of gratitude. The belief that every event is part of God's destiny gave Robert tranquility, even though life's challenges never completely disappeared. Before, Robert often got caught up in a materialistic world. His job provided a high salary, and he could enjoy a luxurious lifestyle. However, after becoming a Muslim, he began to understand the importance of simplicity and maintaining sincerity in every aspect of life. Islam teaches that worldly wealth is not eternal, and what matters more is what we do with that wealth. Robert became more careful in managing his finances. He learned to give charity and help those in need because Islam emphasizes the importance of sharing one's blessings with others. Although he continued working as a bodyguard, he no longer saw material wealth as the main goal in life. Instead, he valued happiness and the blessings of life through his relationship with God and with others. With a deeper spiritual experience, Robert felt compelled to help others find the inner peace he had found. He became active in Dawah, Islamic outreach, sharing his life experiences, and telling how his encounter with Imam Ibrahim had changed his life. He also became more concerned with the existence of other Muslims who had newly embraced the faith, offering support to those struggling to understand Islamic teachings and live a better life. Robert realized that as a Muslim, he had a responsibility to be a good example to others, both in his daily behavior and in sharing knowledge about Islam. Robert's life after embracing Islam was not without its challenges. As a bodyguard, he still had to face high-pressure situations that were sometimes dangerous. However, the difference now was that Robert viewed these challenges as opportunities to strengthen his faith and draw closer to God. He learned to be grateful for all the blessings he was given, both in moments of happiness and in life's trials. Now, as Robert steps into each new day, he no longer feels empty or lost. He feels more alive, more connected to a greater purpose. Islam has given Robert the inner peace he had been searching for all along. As a Muslim, he feels that his life now has meaning, and he is ready to face every challenge with gratitude, calmness, and trust in God's will. After embracing Islam, Robert's life underwent a profound and unexpected transformation. The decision to leave his job as a bodyguard, which had been a significant part of his identity, was the first major step in his spiritual journey. A life filled with tension, worry, and constant busyness was now replaced by a calmer and more meaningful existence. As a Christian bodyguard, Robert had a highly demanding life, always in situations full of risk and pressure. However, after embracing Islam, he felt that his job no longer aligned with the path he had chosen. Although the job provided him with a good income and high social status, Robert felt that his life had become empty, and he began searching for something more meaningful, something that resonated with what he believed to be the true purpose of life. Robert felt that Islam taught peace, tranquility, and a deeper spiritual responsibility. The physical security of others, while important, was no longer enough to fulfill his sense of purpose. Eventually, after much consideration, Robert decided to quit his job as a bodyguard and seek a new path that was more in harmony with the principles of Islam that he had embraced. After leaving his old job, Robert began to delve deeper into the teachings of Islam. He not only learned about worship but also about the moral values and ethics contained within the religion. Robert realized that there were many ways he could benefit others, and he felt compelled to be part of positive change in society. He decided to take courses and training in the fields of social work and education. Robert wanted to use his time to teach and share knowledge with those in need, whether it was in the areas of religion, morality, or life skills. Armed with his desire to make a positive impact, he began serving the local Muslim community, helping those in need in various ways, both materially and non-materially. As a Muslim, Robert learned that life is not just about what we gain, but also about what we give to others. He became more concerned with his surroundings, helping orphans, the poor, and those marginalized by society. Robert felt more empowered to help others, and he found happiness in giving. Previously, Robert felt that his life was filled with worldly ambitions, status, recognition, and wealth. Although he was very successful as a bodyguard, he felt that his achievements did not bring inner peace. After embracing Islam, Robert realized that his life's purpose was to seek the pleasure of Allah, live with gratitude, and lead a simple but blessed life. Robert became more selective about what he chose to be part of his life. He began focusing on things of greater value, such as family, worship, and devotion to the community. The desire to continue improving himself spiritually and morally became more important to him than any worldly achievements. He felt more at peace living according to the teachings of Islam sincerely, without the endless pursuit of ambition. After some time, Robert began to build a family life filled with peace and love. As a husband and father, he felt a great responsibility to set a good example for his children and wife. Robert wanted to teach them about the values of Islam that he had learned and how to live with love, understanding, and mutual respect. Robert realized that family is where true peace begins. He learned to be more patient, attentive, and wise in fulfilling his new role as the head of the household. He not only worked to provide for his family but also to create a harmonious and loving environment. Years of being a bodyguard, living under pressure and tension, made Robert realize the importance of inner peace that he found through Islam. In every prayer, supplication, and remembrance of Allah, Robert felt a closeness to Allah. Islam taught him to always be grateful for everything that was given and to accept life's trials with patience and sincerity. Even though the world around him was still filled with challenges, Robert felt more ready to face it with a calm heart and confidence. He also felt that his spiritual journey had just begun. Every day was an opportunity to learn more, draw closer to Allah, and improve the quality of his life. Robert felt that Islam had given him a broader worldview, one that was not only focused on this world but also on the eternal life in the hereafter. As a new Muslim, Robert felt he had a responsibility to share his life experience with others. He wanted to be an example for those who might be searching for truth or feeling confused, as he once had. Robert began talking about his life journey, how he found Islam, and how the religion had given him peace and a clear direction in life. He got involved in various outreach and social activities in his community, helping others who had recently converted to Islam adapt to their new life. Robert saw this as part of his responsibility as a Muslim, to spread the goodness and peace he had found to others. Robert's life after embracing Islam was far more meaningful. Although he no longer worked as a bodyguard, he felt safer and more protected than ever before. Islam gave him a sense of security in his heart, which was more important than any physical protection he had once provided for others. Robert knew that his path in life was now filled with a more noble purpose, and he felt ready to live this life with gratitude, happiness, and true peace. As a Muslim, Robert not only protected others physically but also shielded his heart and soul from all evil and doubt. He knew that his life was now more valuable and meaningful, and he was ready to take every step with confidence and love for Allah. In a village located by the river, there lived a Christian priest who was highly respected by the community. His name was Pastor Lucas, a man full of love who always tried to teach the values of love, peace, and forgiveness in every sermon. Pastor Lucas had served his congregation for decades and was known by everyone for his wisdom. One day, as Pastor Lucas was walking through the quiet village streets, he saw a little boy sitting on a large rock near the riverbank. The boy was dressed in simple clothes and appeared to be gazing at the water in complete silence. He looked much younger than the children Pastor Lucas typically encountered in the village, and his face showed a hint of worry, as though there was a burden in his heart. Pastor Lucas felt drawn to the boy and approached him. With a gentle smile, he greeted, "What are you doing here, son?" The boy turned and looked at Pastor Lucas with soft eyes. "I am reflecting, Pastor," he answered quietly. "I am thinking about many things." Pastor Lucas sat beside him, feeling the peace that grew between them. "Reflection is good, son," Pastor Lucas said, looking at the flowing water. "Sometimes we need to take time to think, to wonder about this life." The boy nodded and then spoke again, "I am a Muslim, Pastor. I often hear stories about God in my religion, and sometimes I feel confused by the many religions in the world. Which religion is true? Why are we different? Isn't God one?" Pastor Lucas listened carefully and then responded wisely, "My child, that is a very deep question. Many people in this world feel confused by religious differences. However, I believe that every religion teaches us to live well and love one another. In my teachings, we are taught to love others as ourselves. I believe this is also present in the teachings of other religions." The boy looked at Pastor Lucas with eyes full of curiosity. "But Pastor, in my religion, we are taught that Muhammad is the last prophet. We believe in one God, Allah, and that we must live according to the teachings of the Qur'an." Pastor Lucas smiled and nodded. "I know that in Islam, you are taught to surrender completely to Allah, and that Muhammad is a highly respected prophet. I deeply admire how Islam emphasizes peace, simplicity, and closeness to God. I also believe that we, as human beings, need to seek peace and wisdom within ourselves, and many religious teachings lead to the same goal. The boy looked amazed. But how can you, Pastor, understand the teachings of Islam, if you are a Christian? Pastor Lucas looked toward the sky, which was beginning to change color, signaling that dusk was approaching. My child, I believe that every religion has goodness from which we can learn. I have learned a lot about Islam, about how you are taught to maintain the cleanliness of your heart and mind, to share with those in need, and to pray with devotion. Truly, I find it very inspiring. Doesn't Pastor fear the difference in religions? Asked the boy, filled with curiosity. Pastor Lucas looked at the boy gently. I am not afraid, son. I believe that our God, no matter the name, wants us to understand and respect one another. I think if we all can listen to each other and learn from one another, this world will be a more peaceful place. The boy paused for a moment, reflecting on Pastor Lucas's words. I feel, maybe religion is not just about what we believe, but also about how we live our lives and how we treat others. Pastor Lucas nodded wisely. That's right, son. Religion teaches us to live with love, and that is the same value, no matter what religion we follow. I believe that if we all try to understand and appreciate differences, we will be closer to the truth. The boy smiled, his face now looking calmer. Thank you, Pastor. I feel like I understand more now. Maybe I can learn to be more open and appreciate others, regardless of their religion. Pastor Lucas felt a deep happiness in his heart. I'm glad to speak with you, son. Always remember that kindness and love are universal languages that everyone can understand, regardless of their religion. They sat together for a while, watching the sunset behind the mountains, as if the world was giving them a chance to reflect, understand, and share. That day, the little boy went home with a lighter heart, filled with new understanding. He knew that differences did not have to be an obstacle, but could be a bridge to understanding and respect. And Pastor Lucas, although he had learned much about Christianity, felt inspired by the conversation, knowing that every encounter with another person is an opportunity to see the world in a broader way. The story continued, becoming one about friendship that transcended differences and taught that in every religion, there are seeds of goodness that can grow and benefit the world. After the deep encounter with the little boy, Pastor Lucas felt a strong urge to learn more about Islam. The boy's words, asking about the differences in religion and beliefs, made him reflect more deeply. As a pastor who always preached values of love and peace, Lucas felt that further understanding of Islam would not only enrich his knowledge but also deepen mutual respect between different faiths. Pastor Lucas began his new journey with cautious steps. He knew that understanding another religion did not mean he would abandon his rooted Christian faith, but it was an effort to open his heart, enrich his perspective, and appreciate the truth found in various spiritual traditions. He also attended some lectures and study sessions at a mosque near his church and tried to speak with Muslim friends in his village, including the boy who had given him enlightenment. One afternoon, Pastor Lucas visited the mosque where the boy regularly worshipped. When he arrived, he was warmly welcomed by an imam who already knew of Lucas's good intentions. The imam, a wise man, gladly invited him to sit and talk further. Lucas then expressed his desire to understand more about Islam. Imam, I want to know more about Islam. I want to learn about what you believe because I believe that with a better understanding, we can respect each other more, Lucas said sincerely. The imam smiled and nodded. We greatly appreciate your intention, Pastor Lucas. Islam is a religion that teaches peace, compassion, and mutual respect. Let us start with the Qur'an, our holy book, which we believe is the revelation from God delivered to Prophet Muhammad. Pastor Lucas felt honored and blessed to have this opportunity. The imam began explaining about the Qur'an, the book revealed in Arabic. He explained that the Qur'an is not just a guide to life, but it also covers all aspects of life, from spirituality to social relations among human beings. One thing that impressed Lucas was how the Qur'an teaches the importance of justice, compassion, and sincerity in all actions. Pastor Lucas asked, "What can I learn from the Qur'an that I can apply in my life as a Christian pastor?" The imam answered gently, "In Islam, we highly prioritize mutual respect and doing good to others. One very important teaching is the concept of taqwa, which is living with full awareness of God's presence in every aspect of our lives. The Qur'an contains many verses reminding humanity to guard their hearts and behavior, not to harm others, and to live with integrity. Pastor Lucas listened attentively. He felt that many values in Islam were very similar to the teachings of his Christianity, about love, justice, and living with integrity. Lucas continued to dig deeper, and one day, he came across a verse in the Qur'an that deeply touched his heart. Indeed, those who believe, and those who are Jews, and Christians, and Sabians, whoever believes in God and the last day and does righteous work, will have their reward with their Lord, and no fear will there be concerning them, nor will they grieve. Lucas paused for a moment after reading the verse. He felt that the message was profound and full of love. The verse teaches that despite religious differences, as long as someone believes in God and does good deeds, they will be honored by God. Week after week, Pastor Lucas continued to delve into the teachings of Islam. He began to see that many noble values in Islam reflect universal principles that are also present in his own religion. He felt closer to the Muslim community in his village, understood more about their lives, and realized that there were more similarities than differences. One day, he met again with the little boy he had once met by the riverbank. The boy now seemed more cheerful and full of enthusiasm. They sat together on a park bench, and Pastor Lucas said, "Son, I have learned a lot about Islam. I want to thank you for opening my heart to understand more deeply. I realize that although we follow different religions, we actually have a lot in common in the way we live, in the way we love and respect each other." The boy smiled broadly, his eyes shining with happiness. "I'm glad, Pastor. I believe that our God is one, and even though we have different ways to worship Him, we are all taught to do good and love one another." Pastor Lucas nodded. "Yes, son. I believe that now. I feel closer to you, and to everyone I meet. Our religions may be different, but goodness, love, and peace are the same language for all humanity." That day, under the bright sky, they sat together, talking about their hopes and dreams for a more peaceful world, a place where humanity could live side by side despite their different beliefs. Pastor Lucas not only understood Islam but also gained a deeper understanding of his life's meaning as a Christian pastor. He knew that religious differences were not obstacles to building brotherhood and respecting one another. Through this journey, he learned that love and understanding could become a bridge that unites the hearts of humanity, regardless of the religion they follow. Pastor Lucas's journey in understanding Islam deepened more each day. Every time he met Muslims in his village, he felt more open and learned more about their teachings. At the mosque, he began listening to the sermons delivered by the imam and increasingly felt the peace that came with every word spoken. There was something profound in the teachings of Islam that spoke of complete submission to God, Allah, the simplicity of the heart, forgiveness, and limitless love and compassion. One night, after months of reading the Qur'an, discussing with Muslim friends, and listening to lectures about the beauty of Islam, Pastor Lucas felt a great change in his heart. As he continued reading the verses of the Qur'an, there was a verse that deeply shook his soul. The verse read, "Indeed, the religion in the sight of Allah is Islam." This verse struck his heart with tranquility but also confusion. Islam teaches total submission to God. There is peace in that surrender, a tranquility that cannot be explained by words. For him, the teachings of Islam felt like filling the gaps within himself that had remained empty. He felt that Islam provided answers to many of his questions about life, God, and how to live a life filled with goodness and love. On a quiet night, when Lucas was praying with sincerity, he felt as if he were speaking directly to God. In his prayer, he expressed the feelings in his heart, full of doubt and confusion, but also the desire to be closer to God. "God, I have sought you throughout my life. I want to always walk in your way, but I know that sometimes I am hindered by confusion and differences. I want to draw near to you with a heart full of love and understanding. If you are the Almighty God, guide me in finding the right path." In the silence of that prayer, Lucas felt a deep peace. He felt as if God had heard him and given him guidance. Shortly after that, he decided to speak with the Imam, who had become a close friend. He felt that this was the right moment to share what he was feeling in his heart. The next day, Lucas went to the mosque, where the Imam was. They sat together in a quiet corner of the mosque. Pastor Lucas shared what he felt and how his heart was filled with the peace he had experienced on his journey of learning about Islam. "Imam, after studying Islam for so long and seeing the peace that has come into my heart, I feel that I want to live my life wholeheartedly according to the teachings I have learned. I feel that this is the right path for me, and I wish to embrace Islam." The Imam looked at him with deep emotion. "Alhamdulillah, Pastor Lucas. May Allah guide and bless you on this journey. Islam is a path full of love and peace. Allah is most merciful and most compassionate." With a heart full of tranquility, Pastor Lucas recited the 2 sentences of the Shahada, the declaration that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. He felt a profound peace flowing through his heart. It was like a light shining on his soul, and he felt that all the burdens that had once been in his heart had been lifted. From that day forward, Pastor Lucas officially embraced Islam, and he was given a new name, Lucas al-Islam. This great change in his life not only brought him closer to Allah but also deepened his love for fellow human beings. He began to worship with devotion, performing the 5 daily prayers, and experiencing an indescribable peace in every prostration. The villagers were greatly surprised to hear the news that Pastor Lucas, a respected Christian pastor, had embraced Islam. Many wondered and some even felt doubtful. However, Lucas al-Islam patiently and lovingly explained that he had not converted due to dissatisfaction with his previous religion, but because he felt that Islam provided a peace and wisdom so profound. He still respected the Christian teachings that had matured him, but he also felt that this step was the path that brought him closer to God. With great wisdom, he began to teach others that religious differences are not an obstacle to living in peace. He reminded everyone that regardless of the religion we follow, the most important thing is how we treat others with love and respect their rights. Lucas al-Islam became a symbol of peace between Christians and Muslims in his village, showing that love and understanding are the foundation of all religions. And the boy who first opened Lucas al-Islam's eyes to the beauty of Islam became a witness to the pastor's spiritual journey. The two of them, who once spoke of religion and differences, now became friends who respected each other and shared love in true brotherhood. The story of Lucas al-Islam became an inspiration to many, not only about religious differences but about a sincere journey of the heart seeking truth and peace. He proved that God, in His greatness, provides a way for each person to find peace, even through different paths. After Pastor Lucas embraced Islam, the change in him was not only felt personally but also began to influence those around him, including the congregation that had followed the teachings he had shared. The big decision to leave Christianity and embrace Islam was not an easy one, but Lucas al-Islam felt that this step was part of a greater divine calling in his life. Lucas not only found peace in Islam for himself but felt strongly compelled to share what he felt with others. Not just because he wanted to encourage others to follow in his footsteps, but because he believed that humanity should share love, understanding, and respect, even though their religions might differ. Day by day, Lucas al-Islam reflected on the best way to speak with his congregation. He knew this was a very big step and could cause confusion and concern, but he felt it was something that needed to be done with love and wisdom. One day, after performing prayers at the mosque, Lucas invited all the members of his church to gather at his house. He carefully extended the invitation, suggesting they come to hear a direct explanation from him about the spiritual journey he had undertaken. Some were curious, but many were shocked and doubtful, as they never imagined that a pastor could change religions. However, out of respect and love for Lucas, they came. On the appointed day, the church, usually filled with Christian hymns and prayers, was transformed into a space to discuss Lucas' life-changing journey. The atmosphere was somewhat awkward at first, but Lucas stood before them with calmness and wisdom, wearing simple clothes that reflected his new identity as a Muslim. "My dear brothers and sisters," Lucas began in a soft but confident voice, "I stand here not to judge or condemn, but to share with you a long journey that has deeply changed my life. I know this is a decision that is hard to understand. I spent many years living as a Christian pastor, and I believed in the love, peace, and forgiveness taught by Jesus. However, throughout my life, I felt that God called me to seek deeper, to draw closer to Him." He paused for a moment, looking at the attentive faces, some confused, some anxious. "I have learned many things, including the teachings of Islam, and I feel as though I have found the peace I've been searching for. Islam teaches complete submission to the one true God, living with sincerity, and showing compassion towards fellow human beings. All of this aligns deeply with the teachings I've shared with you, about love, peace, and forgiveness. I feel that I not only found the right path for myself, but I also feel that God is calling me to share this peace with you." Lucas continued, "I want you to know that this decision didn't come easily. I spent many nights reflecting, praying, and talking with many people, including Muslim friends in this village. I feel that what I've learned about Islam, about love, peace, and devotion to God, has filled my heart with a peace so great. It is a peace I want to share with you." As he spoke about his feelings and experiences, one by one, his congregation began to open up more. Some were surprised, others felt the sincerity in his words. Lucas didn't ask them to follow in his footsteps, but simply wanted to show them that his step was part of an honest search for deeper truth and peace. He wanted his congregation to see that religion wasn't just about identity, but about a personal relationship with God and how we live in this world. A few weeks after that meeting, Lucas al-Islam spoke to his family. He knew this step would be harder for them, especially for his wife, as they had been deeply rooted in the Christian tradition they had followed together for many years. However, he felt that this was the right time to speak openly and honestly about his spiritual journey. One evening, after dinner, Lucas gathered his family. Gently, he expressed his feelings and beliefs. My children, I know this is not easy. I have lived with you in the Christian faith, and I love you very much. But the journey I've been on recently has changed my heart. I feel that God is calling me to Islam, to draw closer to Him. I am not asking you to follow me now, but I want you to know that this is a step I've chosen after much prayer and reflection." His wife looked at Lucas with eyes full of confusion, but she knew well that her husband was a man of love and wisdom. She felt the sincerity in every word he said. "I love you, Lucas," she said with a trembling voice. "I know this is not easy for you, and I respect your journey to find the truth. I will continue to support you, even though this is hard for me." Their children were also silent, listening intently. However, they could see how Lucas, their father, had found peace with this choice. Though filled with mixed emotions, Lucas' family tried to accept his decision with an open heart. Lucas did not force them to follow his path. He understood that this was a personal journey that required time. However, he continued to show sincerity and wisdom in all his actions, teaching the values of compassion and peace, while respecting each individual's beliefs. Over time, some of his congregation began to feel inspired by Lucas' journey. They came to discuss, ask questions, and even visit the mosque with Lucas. Some began to feel the peace in the teachings of Islam, seeing the common values they held with Christianity, and understanding that religion is about devotion to God and service to others, not just doctrine or identity. Day by day, more people became interested in learning more about Islam. A number of church members began their own journeys, reflecting and seeking deeper meaning in life. Lucas never pressured them to become Muslim, but he invited them to seek peace in their lives, to draw closer to God, and to respect each other's differences. Several months later, a remarkable moment occurred. His wife, who had been hesitant, came to Lucas with tears in her eyes. "Lucas, I feel the peace you found. I want to join you, together we will seek this peace. I want to embrace Islam." His wife, who had walked alongside Lucas in life, now stood with him in a new belief, with hearts full of love and understanding. Together, they and their small family embraced Islam, living lives full of sincerity, compassion, and peace. The church members who had previously come to hear Lucas' story also began to join, slowly. They realized that Lucas' decision wasn't just about changing religions, but about a spiritual journey towards true peace. They no longer saw it as just a move to a new religion, but as a step toward a life filled with peace, love, and mutual respect. The story of Pastor Lucas, who later became Lucas al-Islam, and his family who embraced Islam, became a legend in the village. A story that taught that the spiritual journey of life is not about differences, but about the shared values of love, understanding, and peace before God. After embracing Islam, Lucas al-Islam, formerly known as Pastor Lucas, felt a deeper calling to serve the Muslim community in his village. Though his journey to Islam was filled with challenges and mixed emotions, he became increasingly certain that this step was part of God's plan. His decision to convert was not just a change of religion, but also a step closer to God, to live a life filled with love, peace, and devotion. Lucas felt that the mosque, which he had once seen merely as a place of worship for Muslims, had now become his new home. The place felt so peaceful and full of serenity, and he felt the calling to get more involved in the life of the community. However, he didn't immediately jump to become part of the mosque's administration. Lucas knew that such a role was not just about position or recognition, but more about serving with a sincere and loving heart. One day, as he was discussing matters with Imam Yusuf, the Imam who had been guiding him in his spiritual journey, Imam Yusuf revealed something that moved Lucas' heart. "My brother Lucas," said Imam Yusuf, "we deeply appreciate the journey you've undertaken. Your sincerity, your good intentions to understand Islam, and your contributions in building bridges between Christians and Muslims in this village mean so much. We want to invite you to join us more deeply, not only as a Muslim but also as a part of the mosque's administration." Lucas was surprised, but his heart was filled with gratitude. He had never imagined that he, a former Christian pastor, would be offered such a position. However, he felt that this was God's way of working through him, giving him an opportunity to serve his people in a different way. "I am truly honored," Lucas responded softly. "However, I also know that being part of the mosque's administration is not just about a position, but about a great responsibility to serve the community with sincerity. I want to do this wholeheartedly and continue to learn." Imam Yusuf smiled and nodded. "We believe you have shown sincerity in every step you've taken. We are confident you can help develop this mosque, strengthen interfaith relationships, and provide a living example of love." From that moment on, Lucas al-Islam officially joined the mosque's administration. His first task was to help plan social programs that involved the entire community, both Muslims and non-Muslims. Lucas saw this as a good way to create a bridge of understanding between the two religious groups, something he had always advocated for. He wanted to prove that despite religious differences, people could live together with mutual respect. As part of the mosque's administration, Lucas al-Islam became actively involved in various activities. He helped organize study sessions, social activities, and food sharing for those in need. One of the programs that touched his heart the most was a charity program for orphan children and underprivileged families. Lucas felt very close to these children and often spoke to them with love, teaching them the importance of sharing and helping one another, regardless of religious background. In addition, Lucas also realized that the mosque was not just a place of worship, but also an educational and Dawah center. He proposed holding open religious study classes for the broader community, including those from other religious backgrounds. Lucas wanted the community, both Muslim and non-Muslim, to better understand the teachings of Islam, while at the same time, learn to appreciate each other's beliefs. One of the most memorable moments for Lucas was when he first led a study session at the mosque. As a former pastor, he had led many church services, but this time felt different. When he stood in front of the congregation, leading prayers and giving advice, Lucas felt as though he was in the right place. He spoke about the importance of love for one another, about maintaining a good relationship with God, and how we could do good without regard to religion or background. Islam teaches us to always do good to anyone, regardless of whether they are Muslim or not, Lucas said with confidence. In this life, we must help each other, love each other, and respect each other. This is the essence of true peace. His message not only touched the hearts of the Muslim congregation present, but also inspired some non-Muslim attendees to open their hearts more. They began to see that Islam was not a religion that shut itself off, but a religion that teaches love and peace for all humanity. Moreover, Lucas al-Islam continued to strengthen his relationships with the congregation he had once led in the church. He realized that even though they were now of different faiths, there were many shared values between them. He often invited them to come to the mosque and have discussions together, share stories, and strengthen the bonds of brotherhood between religious communities. Lucas did not only teach the teachings of Islam, but also tried to impart the importance of living in peace side by side, respecting differences, and building friendships despite differing beliefs. 1 year after becoming part of the mosque's administration, Lucas felt that he had found true peace in his life. He felt that his life now had more meaning. When he stood in front of the mosque, facing the congregation who listened attentively to his sermon, he realized that this was the true calling of his life, to serve, to build bridges of understanding, and to live in peace. The spiritual journey that began with a simple question from a young boy he had once met, had now led him to a new life as an active Muslim in the community. Lucas al-Islam was now not only a pastor who changed his faith, but also a mosque administrator who became a symbol of peace, love, and understanding between religious communities. The end of the story of Pastor Lucas, now known as Lucas al-Islam, is a journey full of meaning and peace. After years of living as a respected Christian pastor, he embraced Islam and became the mosque's administrator. Lucas al-Islam felt that he had found his true calling in life. However, his journey did not end with simply being a mosque administrator or a respected figure in the village. His story is about how he lived a life full of love, devotion, and dedication to God and others. Lucas al-Islam lived with humility, always ready to serve the community, and taught the values of peace to everyone he met. In every sermon, he spoke not only about religion but also about how to live a life full of love and mutual respect, regardless of one's background or religion. He continued to advocate for interfaith dialogue and friendship between Christians and Muslims in his village, which had previously been divided by differences in beliefs. After several years of serving as the mosque administrator, Lucas felt increasingly at peace with his life. He felt a deep tranquility, both in his relationship with God and with the people around him. Yet, he knew that life in this world was temporary. He felt that the time had come for him to draw closer to God. One night, after holding a study session and chatting with friends and congregants at the mosque, Lucas al-Islam felt tired. However, it was not an ordinary fatigue. He felt an extraordinary peace in his heart. That night, in the silence and calmness, Lucas sat for a moment in the small, simple mosque. He reflected on the journey he had undertaken, from being a Christian pastor, a seeker of truth, to a Muslim living a life full of love for God and others. The decision he had made to embrace Islam was never regretted. Every step he took brought him profound peace, a peace he felt when he bowed his head in prayer, when he helped those in need, and when he shared happiness with his family and friends. Lucas felt that his life had been filled with purpose. In the quiet of that night, Lucas al-Islam faced Allah with a heart full of gratitude, praying for the safety of all people, both Muslims and non-Muslims, and asking that he continue to be a beneficial servant to others. Unknowingly, at that moment, he felt an indescribable peace in his soul, as if God was calling him to return to him with love. A few hours after that prayer, Lucas al-Islam took his last breath. He passed away peacefully in the quiet of the night, without pain, and in a state of calm. The villagers, both Muslim and non-Muslim, mourned his passing deeply. They remembered Lucas as someone who had inspired them with a life full of love, peace, and mutual understanding. Imam Yusuf, who had been his friend and mentor from the beginning, delivered the final sermon at the mosque to commemorate Lucas. "Our brother Lucas al-Islam," he said with a trembling voice, "has shown us that love and understanding transcend the boundaries of religion and belief. He taught us that God is the most merciful, who grants peace and affection to every servant. Lucas is a living example that teaches us to respect one another and live in peace. May Allah accept his deeds and grant him the best place with him." Lucas' funeral was held with great respect. The mosque congregation and villagers stood together, accompanying him to his final resting place. There were many tears, but also many smiles and gratitude for the life he had lived. Lucas al-Islam, the pastor who had become a symbol of peace between religions, left behind a truly meaningful legacy. A few months after his passing, the village community built a small garden near the mosque in remembrance of Lucas al-Islam. The garden was named the Peace Garden, a place where people from various backgrounds could come, sit together, reflect, and talk about the importance of living in peace in a world full of differences. The garden became a symbol that Lucas al-Islam, through all the changes he experienced in his life, had planted the seeds of peace that would continue to grow and flourish. The end of Pastor Lucas' story is one about a soul's journey that not only sought truth but also found true peace in life. He taught that religious differences are not obstacles to living in love and brotherhood. Lucas al-Islam became not only a bridge between two religions but also a reflection for many on how to live in love and peace, in devotion to God and others. Once upon a time, in a remote village at the foot of a mountain, there lived a monk named Banti Satya. He had lived for a long time in an old monastery surrounded by shady trees and cool air. Banti Satya was a figure respected by many because of his wisdom and calmness. His days were spent in meditation, reading holy scriptures, and offering advice to those who came seeking enlightenment. However, despite many seeking him out, he felt an emptiness in his heart that could not be filled simply by the teachings he had received. One bright morning, while Banti Satya was walking around the monastery, he saw a young man approaching him. The young man was wearing simple clothes, with a face full of tranquility. From a distance, Banti Satya could sense the peace radiating from the young man. The young man, named Arif, was a Muslim youth on a long journey. He had visited various places to deepen his knowledge of Islam, and this time, his journey brought him to the village. Arif had a desire to learn more about various religious teachings in the world, especially those with profound philosophies on life and achieving inner happiness. As Arif approached, Banti Satya greeted him warmly. "Good morning, young man. What brings you to this place?" asked Banti Satya in a soft voice. Arif smiled and answered, "Good morning, Banti. I am on a journey to seek knowledge. I want to understand more deeply about peace of heart and how we can achieve true happiness." Banti Satya was intrigued by Arif's words and decided to invite him to sit under a large tree in the monastery yard. They began to talk about various things, from life philosophy to the teachings of their respective religions. Arif explained the teachings of Islam, which include Tawhid, the oneness of God, prayer, and the importance of maintaining a relationship with God and fellow human beings. Banti Satya listened attentively and was intrigued by the deep submission to God described by Arif. Arif spoke confidently about how Islam teaches love and compassion for others, and how every good deed done with sincere intention will bring peace into life. Banti Satya felt that Arif's words resonated with his search, even though he had long followed the path of meditation and isolation in the Buddhist tradition. Meanwhile, Banti Satya shared the story of his life as a monk. He spoke about how he had dedicated himself to seeking enlightenment through meditation, but he felt that something was still missing. Though he experienced peace within, he did not yet fully understand the greater meaning of life. He was searching for something that could answer his questions about the purpose of life and how to live a better life, not just for himself, but for a more peaceful world. "Do you feel you have found the answers to your life's questions?" asked Banti Satya to Arif. Arif nodded with a sincere smile. "Islam teaches me that life is a test, and that we must always be grateful for everything given by God. Peace of heart is not only found in meditation, but also in our relationships with others and with God. We live to give, to share, and to improve ourselves. I believe that every true religion, at its core, teaches goodness and peace. Banti Satya fell silent upon hearing Arif's answer. He felt that what the young man said was very similar to what he had been seeking, albeit in a different context. They both sat in silence for a moment, contemplating the conversation they had just had. Days passed, and Banti Satya grew increasingly impressed by Arif's wisdom. They often discussed religion, life, and ways to overcome suffering. Arif never imposed his beliefs on Banti Satya, but every word he spoke was full of sincerity and depth. Arif showed that Islam was not just a religion, but also a way of life full of love, understanding, and respect for all living beings. One night, after speaking with Arif about patience, forgiveness, and God's love, Banti Satya felt his heart open. He realized that his search had perhaps brought him closer to a broader understanding of the truth that exists in this world. In the quiet of that night, with the gentle whisper of the wind and the moonlight illuminating the monastery, Banti Satya prayed for the first time in his life, asking for God's guidance. The next day, as the sun was just rising, Banti Satya met Arif. With a voice full of sincerity, he said, "Young man, I have long searched for answers to many questions in my life. I feel that my heart has opened to receive something greater. I want to learn more about your teachings. I want to follow the path of love and peace that you believe in." Arif was surprised, but a sincere smile spread across his face. "Banti, Islam teaches that anyone who seeks the truth with a sincere heart will be guided. I would be happy if you want to learn more." With Arif's guidance, Banti Satya began to learn more about Islam. He learned about the pillars of faith, prayer, and the importance of intention in every action. He felt a peace in his heart that could not be described, like a light that had just illuminated the path of his life. In the end, after several months of learning and contemplation, Banti Satya decided to recite the Shahada and embrace Islam with all his heart. The story of Banti Satya and Arif became a legend in the village. They were not just two people, but also brought a message of peace to many. Banti Satya, now named Halim, dedicated himself to teaching others that in the end, all true religions teach love, peace, and wisdom. He often said, "The path to truth may be different, but in the end, all paths lead to love and peace." Arif and Halim continued to work together, helping to strengthen the relationship between Buddhists and Muslims in the village, and they became symbols of unity and mutual understanding between religions. Several years after Halim embraced Islam, the story of his meeting with Arif became well known to many people. The village, once divided by differences, became an example for many other places in the world. Halim, with his wise and peaceful demeanor, managed to open the hearts of many people, both from the Muslim and Buddhist communities, to understand each other and work together. In the village, Halim established an institution that taught peace and interfaith understanding. He worked with Arif to hold various seminars and discussions, inviting religious leaders from diverse backgrounds to speak about how love and peace could be found in every religious teaching. One of the programs they ran was The Bridge of Peace, which aimed to connect people of different religions through social and spiritual activities together. Every month, they held events involving both Buddhists and Muslims to share experiences, learn from one another, and collaborate in helping communities in need. This program became very popular, attracting not only people from their village but also from nearby villages. One day, a group of young people from a big city came to visit the village. They were young men and women who wanted to learn how people of different faiths could live together in harmony. After hearing the story of Halim and Arif's journey, many of them were inspired to bring the message of peace back to their city. Amid his busy schedule, Halim often thought about his long spiritual journey. From a monk searching for enlightenment in solitude, to finally finding true peace in Islam, he felt that his life had been guided by a greater destiny. However, Halim always reminded himself to remain humble. He believed that the spiritual journey was never complete, and that each day was an opportunity to learn and share. Arif, the loyal friend, was always by Halim's side. They reminded each other about the importance of keeping pure intentions in everything they did. Arif taught Halim to always maintain a close relationship with God, and Halim taught Arif to never forget the wisdom that could be found in all religions. They supported and complemented each other, and despite coming from very different backgrounds, they respected one another and learned from each other. One day, while discussing the next steps to strengthen interfaith relationships, Halim said, "We've come a long way, Arif. But there's still much to be done. The peace we feel must be felt by more people. We cannot rely solely on words, we must lead by example through our actions." Arif smiled and replied, "True, Halim. Our teachings will be incomplete without real actions. We must continue to encourage others to see the world with eyes of compassion and teach them to live in harmony. Our differences are our strength." As part of their efforts to expand the influence of peace, Halim and Arif planned an annual festival called the Festival of Peace and Unity. This festival would invite people from various religions and cultures to celebrate diversity and show that, despite our differences, we all share the same goal, peace. During the preparations, an unexpected event occurred. A natural disaster struck the village, destroying many homes and fields. However, in this time of difficulty, Halim and Arif became calming leaders. They led the villagers to work together, help each other, and rebuild their lives with a spirit of unity. Thanks to the peace they had spread, Buddhists and Muslims worked side by side. They rebuilt damaged houses, donated food and essential items, and offered moral support to those who had lost so much. Seeing the community, usually divided by religious differences, now supporting each other, Halim felt that he had witnessed the fruits of his efforts. At the end of the year, the festival they had planned took place successfully. The event was attended by many people, not only from their village but also from surrounding cities. There were art exhibitions, music performances, food from various cultures, and seminars discussing the importance of living together in peace. Halim and Arif gave speeches together, talking about their journey and how they had found peace amid differences. At the end of the festival, Halim stood before the crowd, feeling full of gratitude. He said, "Today, we are not just celebrating peace, but also reminding ourselves that peace begins in the heart. We may differ in belief, but we are all humans seeking love and peace. Let us continue to nurture this peace, not only here, but in every step we take." The story of Halim and Arif continues to inspire many people, not only in their village but also in places they visited. They have shown that even though religion, culture, and background may differ, everyone has the potential to live together in peace, respect one another, and work toward a common goal for a better world. And throughout his life, Halim always remembered the first lesson Arif had given him: peace is not something found outside of us, but it grows within our hearts. If we can plant peace in our hearts, it will spread to the world. The peace that started with two people from different religions spread and brought about a great change for many people. After years of dedicating himself to spreading peace among different religious communities, Halim felt that his heart's calling was now leading him toward a deeper commitment to the Muslim community. Although he had become widely known as someone who taught peace and unity across religions, he felt that in order to truly embody the teachings he believed in, he needed to become closer to the Muslim community. Halim decided to join the mosque management in the village where he lived. Al-Mu'minin Mosque, a simple yet busy mosque in the village, became the place where Halim began his new journey in life. The mosque was not only a place of worship but also a center for social activities for the villagers. Halim, known for his wisdom and kindness, was welcomed with open arms by the mosque management. They recognized that Halim's life experiences, having embraced Islam and taught peace among people of different faiths, would greatly benefit the mosque and the Muslim community in the village. At first, Halim's role in the mosque was mostly related to preaching and social activities. He held lectures that not only discussed Islamic teachings but also universal values that could be accepted by everyone, regardless of their religion or background. He spoke about the importance of maintaining relationships with God and others, how every good deed could bring peace, and how to live wisely and humbly in everyday life. Additionally, Halim was involved in social programs organized by the mosque, such as distributing food to those in need, providing free healthcare for villagers, and teaching children the basics of Islam. He realized that the mosque was not only a place of worship but also a place to provide benefits to the community. Al-Mu'minin Mosque became a vibrant place. Every day, there were activities held, both to deepen religious knowledge and to help those in need. Halim also often spoke about the importance of prayer as a way to draw closer to God, while emphasizing that prayer was not just about routine but about a sincere intention to improve oneself and bring peace to the world. Halim's success in his role as a mosque manager was also due to his wise and loving leadership. He always listened to the concerns of the congregation and tried to provide good solutions, while maintaining harmony within the mosque and the community. Despite the many tasks he had to manage, he always remembered the teachings he had learned from the start: peace in the heart is true peace. One calm evening, after the Isha prayer when the mosque was quiet, Halim sat alone in the imam's room, reflecting. He thought about his life journey, full of changes. From a monk searching for enlightenment through meditation, he was now in the mosque, living a more meaningful life. Yet, he felt that this journey was far from over. This is a new beginning, he thought. There is more to be done for the people, for the world. With determination, Halim decided to deepen his knowledge further, focusing on enriching his preaching and strengthening interfaith relations around the mosque. He planned to organize more events that invited people from various religions to share experiences and views on peace. In the following years, the mosque under Halim's management became an example for many other places. The village, once divided by differences, had now become a village full of peace and unity. Many people from outside the village came to learn how to live together with mutual respect and maintain peace. Halim often remembered that his life journey was a gift not only for himself but also for others. "I found peace not just for myself," he told Arif one day, "but to share that peace with the world." Under Halim's guidance, the mosque became not just a place of worship but also a center of peace that connected the hearts of people, teaching that diversity is a strength, not an obstacle. The mosque, once only inhabited by Muslims, had now become a symbol of unity for the entire village, a place where love and peace could be found by anyone, regardless of their background. And that is how Halim, a man who once sought enlightenment in solitude as a monk, became a figure who brought the light of peace in every step of his life as a loving mosque manager. As a mosque administrator, Halim increasingly realized that his role was more than just managing worship and internal mosque activities. For Halim, the mosque was the center of community life. It was a place to bring benefits not only to Muslims but also to the entire community in need, regardless of religious background or social status. Halim decided to make the mosque an active place in helping the community, especially those facing life difficulties. One of the first programs Halim implemented was food and clothing assistance. Every month, Halim, together with the mosque administrators, collected donations from the congregation, including money, food, and used clothing. Then, they organized the distribution of the aid to less fortunate families around the village. One day, while Halim was leading a meeting with the mosque administrators, he said, "We not only need to help those outside the mosque, but we must involve everyone in the mosque to do good for others. Every act of charity, no matter how small, is light in someone's life." With full support from Arif and the villagers, the assistance program grew. Halim not only helped the materially poor but also gave attention to those who needed mental and spiritual support. Every time they gave assistance, Halim always emphasized the importance of a sincere intention to help others without expecting anything in return. "It's not just about giving, but giving with a sincere heart," Halim told the mosque administrators. The Al-Mu'minin Mosque also began offering education classes for underprivileged children. Halim believed that education was the key to improving the community's quality of life. With the help of several mosque administrators and volunteers, they provided free basic learning classes, such as reading, writing, and Quranic studies. They even held skill classes for adults, such as sewing, gardening, and other skills that could help them improve their family's economy. Beyond that, Halim and Arif also realized the importance of health in improving the community's quality of life. They collaborated with volunteer doctors and medical staff to hold free health clinics at the mosque. Every month, villagers in need of health checkups, medications, or even consultations with medical professionals could come to the mosque and receive services free of charge. Halim reminded the administrators and volunteers to always maintain patience and compassion when helping the people who came to the mosque. Islam teaches us not only to worship in the mosque but also to do good to others, wherever we are, Halim said in one of his sermons. We can be a source of goodness for others, because every good deed we do will return to us in ways we never expect. These programs brought an extraordinary impact on the community. Many families who once struggled with economic and health issues now felt the positive effects of all the assistance provided by the mosque. The villagers began to feel closer and more connected to each other. They felt more involved in the community, and the mosque became a place not only for worship but also for seeking solutions to various life problems. One day, a mother who had just received food and clothing assistance came to see Halim. She thanked him while shedding tears. "I don't know how to thank you. Without this help, we might have starved," she said. Halim gently replied, "This is not only my help, but also from everyone at this mosque. We are all one family." This story touched Halim's heart and motivated him to continue his mission to help the community. He never felt that what he did was enough because he always saw greater needs around the mosque. Each time he saw the difficulties faced by the people in the village, Halim felt urged to do more. Halim also often reminded the mosque congregation about the importance of cooperation and mutual assistance. "Our help is not just in material form, but also in moral support and prayers," he said. "When we join hands, there is no problem too big to face." Through all these programs, the mosque became more than just a place of worship. It became a hub for social activities, where people came not only to pray but also to share, learn, and help each other. The villagers, once separated, now became more united in brotherhood, thanks to Halim's leadership, full of love and attention to the needs of others. Halim never considered what he did as something great. To him, helping the community was a responsibility that had to be carried out sincerely. He always felt that this was part of the life path chosen by God, and he would continue to strive to give as much benefit to others as possible. One calm evening, after a study session and the distribution of assistance at the mosque, Halim sat for a moment on the mosque's porch. He gazed at the developing village. "This is just the beginning," he thought. "There is still much more to be done. We must continue to share, continue to help, and continue to maintain peace." With determination, Halim stepped forward, realizing that his life mission to give to the community was far from over. There was much more to be done to make the world a better place. With strong faith and a heart full of love, he continued to spread goodness, bring peace, and inspire those around him to join in this noble journey. One day, several years after he had devoted himself full-time to the mosque and helping the community, Halim began to feel unwell. Initially, it was only mild symptoms such as unusual fatigue and occasional dizziness, but over time his body became weaker. Halim, who had always been energetic and full of spirit in carrying out his duties of preaching and social work, now struggled to carry out his daily routines. Despite this, he continued to do his best to fulfill his responsibilities. Whenever there was a program at the mosque or a social activity that needed to be done, Halim still showed up, even as his body grew thinner and weaker. He did not want to burden others and always tried to show the community that he would remain dedicated, even in imperfect condition. One morning, after leading the Fajr prayer at the mosque, Halim felt extremely tired and dizzy. As he was about to return to his room, he collapsed and fainted. The villagers who witnessed the incident immediately took him to the hospital. After a series of tests, the doctor informed the family and the mosque management that Halim was suffering from a serious illness, an infection that had silently ravaged his body. Despite the grim diagnosis, Halim remained calm. He accepted with an open heart that his time might be running short. All of this is part of fate, he told Arif, who was sitting beside him at the hospital. I have lived a fulfilling life. I feel I have lived a meaningful life, helping others, and sharing peace. Arif, hearing his friend's words, could only hold back his tears. He knew that despite Halim's calm demeanor, there were feelings in his heart that were hard to express. Arif gently replied, Halim, you have taught us more about life, about giving, and about peace than we can express. We will continue what you started. In the days that followed, Halim was lovingly cared for by the mosque congregation and his family. Despite growing weaker, he continued to offer advice and prayers to anyone who came to visit him. Even in his final moments, he still spoke about the importance of maintaining peace in life. We will all leave someday, he told a young man who came to visit him, but what matters is what we leave behind, peace in our hearts, goodness in our actions, and love for others. After several days of treatment, Halim's condition worsened. One quiet night, after the Isha prayer, Halim peacefully took his last breath. Though his family and the congregation felt deep sorrow, they knew that Halim had lived his life with sincerity, dedicating himself to helping others and bringing peace to many souls. The news of Halim's passing spread quickly throughout the village. Those he had helped, taught, and loved felt a great loss. They came in droves to the mosque to pay their last respects to the man who had given so much to them. People from different religious backgrounds also attended to honor his contributions. Halim was not only known as a good Muslim, but also as a friend, a leader, and a teacher who preached peace. Before his burial, the mosque management held a joint prayer, followed by heartfelt speeches. Arif, with an emotional voice, spoke before the congregation. Halim is a true example of what it means to live for others. He not only taught us about religion, but also about living with a heart full of love. We must continue what he started, to bring peace and unity to this world. On the day of Halim's funeral, the mosque was filled with thousands of people from all walks of life. Those who had been helped, led, and served by Halim came to pay their final respects. Halim was buried with great honor in a simple plot of land near the mosque where he had spent much of his life, bringing benefit to others. After his passing, the mosque he managed continued to operate with the spirit he had instilled. The social assistance programs he initiated continued, and the educational classes he opened for children and adults continued to grow. Al-Mu'minin Mosque became an increasingly vibrant place, not just as a place of worship, but as a center of social activity reflecting the spirit of peace and love that Halim had left behind. In that village, Halim's name would always be remembered. He had left a deep mark in the hearts of everyone who had interacted with him. The values he taught, about peace, unity, and helping others, would continue to live on in every step taken by those he had guided. And even though Halim had left this world, he was always present in the prayers of those who loved him. The villagers often prayed for him, O Allah, forgive Halim's sins and place him in the best place by your side. Make us like him, someone who spent his life for peace, love, and helping others. Halim's story inspired many to continue his struggle in bringing peace. And in the end, he became a legend in that village, a figure not only respected but also loved and appreciated as a living example of goodness.